Were great, and I give Dalen and Javon a lot of credit. The minutes last game weren't there for them. We talked about that after the game last night, that it was a double overtime game. We are going to need everybody. I just appreciate the way those two guys, kept themselves ready. I thought Julian and Patrick, as with Jalen, that whole group was really, really good. It was those five guys, and they got tired. I had a sub, and we probably lost a little momentum going into the half. But when they got back in there in the second half, they were consistent again. So I mean, it was two halves that they put together, which was good to see.
I talked to a couple of them pregame, and it sounded like maybe you guys talked to them too, but they almost kind of knew, given what happened last night, Kobe out, Trey out, like we got to be ready tonight. Did you kind of get that sense too?
Well, I mean, we talked about it after the game last night that we were going to need everybody, and that there were some guys that didn't get an opportunity to play. And I think sometimes after a tough loss like that, it's double overtime. You're catching a flight, and you're coming in to back to back. I think you try to give those guys a heads up of what you're thinking, and you never know how the starters, the guys that absorbed the amount of minutes they absorbed in Utah, how they'll come out and respond. I thought they, with the altitude, handled themselves pretty well. But it's a tough back to back when you're having to fly and come in, and then you have the altitude you're dealing with and the number of minutes and a double overtime loss. So I had just made that point to those guys after the game that everybody needed to be ready.
How nice is it to get out of a situation where you're facing a superstar in the final crunch moments and he doesn't come back to haunt you?
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, I think we played together as a team, and sometimes listen, Murray made a really, really hard shot there. I thought kind of going off of one leg to cut it to two, maybe, or one. I think he cut it to one. Sometimes those guys are going to make plays like that. But I do think that, collectively keeping ourselves in the game for the full 48 minutes, we had a chance to be able to close the game out, which was good. And we had maybe the same opportunity against San Antonio. And, the Milwaukee game, to me, I thought that they really, really overwhelmed us the last 5 minutes. I didn't think it was really, really that close. Now, the Cleveland game, Mitchell made some shots, but those two games in particular, those guys made some plays, and, we just didn't close well enough, and I thought we closed better, tonight.
This margin of error you always mentioned, and how small it is. Do you feel like you hit all the cylinders you needed to get over that side?
I was kind of disappointed the way we played offensively last night, even though we scored a lot of points. I thought there was a lot of opportunities for us to spray the ball. The one thing that was disappointing about last night, and, we got to the rim in an inordinate amount of times, but we shot 41% at the rim last night. So what does that tell you? There's people there, because that's a shot that's in the restricted area. And I thought that we missed a lot of opportunities where we got too deep and didn't spray it. I thought tonight we really moved the ball well. I thought our defense allowed us to kind of get out and transition. But I just didn't think that we played well enough, really on both ends. But, you look at a game where you score 147 points, I think it was a great offensive night. I think we could have been a lot better offensively, and clearly we needed to be a lot better defensively. But I really felt like the guys played together as a unit and as a group. They shared it. They moved the ball. I thought when we got into the paint, we made good decisions. You're not going to always be perfect, but, I think we've got to play for one another and to help one another. I mean, that's got to be our formula. And I felt like we did that better tonight than we did maybe last night.
And Jalen obviously was a big part of that bench run. Did you see what sort of happened to him on that play? And was that your decision to get him out? Because it didn't seem like he was calling for a sub.
I was yelling to see if he needed to come out, but the way he was standing there, kind of crouched down and grabbing his shoulder, I just wanted to get him out, let the trainer take a look at him. I think he got kind of locked up arms, and maybe when Jokic spun, it kind of jerked him. He said it was a stinger. I don't think it's too serious. At least I haven't been told that. But he was able to go back in, and then they came back to me at the end of the game and said he could not go back in. So he's a pretty tough guy, Jalen, and I think when he was down like that, I just felt like he's got to come out. Like, I just didn't like the way he looked and what he'd be able to do, because he was really holding his arm.
Billy, injuries are part of the game for every team, but I mean, given the way Kobe played in his season debut and the way Josh has picked up kind of where he left off from before his ankle injury, Are you kind of envisioning where this could go once you are at full strength? You are?
Yeah, I mean, even getting Trey and Zach back's important for us. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. But to your point, like there's kind of you don't make excuses. It's part of the league. I hope we can be healthy. There's teams that have waited, to be healthy. I remember with Lonzo, we were waiting and wait. It just never happened. So you kind of deal with what's in front of you then on that given night. But yeah, I mean, I'd like for the sake of the group to see them all healthy and playing together. That would give us a little bit more depth. It's hard. Josh has got great stamina and endurance, but, with as fast as we're playing and what we're asking him to do on both ends of the floor, like, it's hard to absorb 35 or 36 minutes night in and night out. And he's tough, and he'll give his best at doing it, but you wonder how efficient he can be that way. And then, you got a situation with Io where, he's kind of on a little bit of a restriction, but then, you're dealing also with, his minutes, consecutive minutes. And those are the only two guards you really have as primary ball handlers, because we've got two guys out. So, I mean, I think those guys look forward to it. You know what I mean? But it certainly would help our team.
Io played at a really high level. He had that huge defensive play late. He's kind of played that level all season. Did you re-dig with his minutes tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was great. I really, I think there was probably some plays in the. He had a couple turnovers in the Utah game, and like that's the one thing I love about Io is like he's really competitive, and he gets really focused and driven. And when he does not perform at the level, the standard he expects himself to perform at, you can rest assured he's going to come back and play much better the next night. And I thought he was really good tonight.
You talked about kind of some of the areas that Io could improve on, but his efficiency scoring tonight. Have you seen him have that level that he can hit in terms of maybe what he can do playmaking and just finishing the ball?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, he didn't do it at the same level last night he did it here. I think the shooting will come and go. I think it's just a consistency. Like even in the Utah game, he had a play up the sideline to Isaac that kind of got stolen, and then he had a play he was trying to thread the needle to Kobe and Coley, and those are like important possessions in the fourth quarter. And like I said, you're going to have some turnovers, but just time, score, management, those kind of things are things he can really control. I think he's really worked hard on his offense. I've got a lot of confidence in him offensively in terms of him shooting the ball and even driving and getting to the rim. I think he'll, like, part of the evolution was, he was in pick and roll, everybody would go under, and now he's learned to stop him behind it. Well, people are going to try to shut off his drives. Now he's got to learn to change direction and maybe make a counter move. Those are things that are part of his growth, but he really, really works at it. But I think that he's been really, really efficient this year, in my opinion. I think he's played at a very, very high level. And, like I said, not every night's going to be your night, but for the most part, competitively, I really, really trust him.
Last one.
Billy, obviously, Javon has not had a lot of opportunities like he had tonight. I'm just amazed at this unbelievable green light he has when he comes in the game. Just what do you make of what he did tonight?
We're not going to post him, so that's about what he's going to do is shoot it, right? No, like you should see this guy. I mean, I tell a lot of younger players, that I get a chance to speak to is like they have this guy's work ethic is like unbelievable. I mean, he is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he is in there and he shoots and he shoots and he shoots and he's soaking wet all the time. And he's the first guy in there, first guy to shoot around, stays after and shoots and just works and works and works. And I think when a guy puts that kind of work in and you see him doing that, you want to give him confidence from the bench that he's put the work in and he's earned the right to take those shots. And I don't want him thinking about it. I think the first year he was with us, I thought he was a little bit reluctant and turned down some shots. Now he's really worked in terms of getting it off quicker. There was a couple that were a little advised, but, like he came down the break, he missed that one, and I give him credit. Like it bounced back to me, got it again, he shot it again, and he made it. So, like, I want him to feel confidence from me, too, that when he's open, I want him to shoot, and he's earned the right, I think, with the work that he's put in.
Thank you.
Yep.
How impressive was Noah? I'm
Stop.
kidding.
That was,